Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi was the former leader of ISIS. Baghdadi was the first caliph of ISIS and led the caliphate from June 2014 to October 2019. His reign as caliph ended when he met his demise in an American military operation code named Operation Kayla Mueller. His actual name was Ibrahim Awad Ibrahim al-Badri, but he changed his name to Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. Some of you might have heard that Baghdadi had a PhD in Islamic studies, but never found any credible sources to substantiate this. Well, it's all true, and I'm going to provide some sources to corroborate all of this. What first needs to be acknowledged is that having a PhD presupposes that you have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree, which Baghdadi indeed has. Baghdadi's credentials were reported as early as 2013 when Site Intelligence revealed a biography of Baghdadi, and it said the following: a professor, teacher, former educator, recognized preacher, and graduate of the Islamic University in Baghdad, where he finished his academic studies. He is known as a preacher and a person of knowledge in Islamic culture, Sharia knowledge, and jurisprudence, and possessing vast knowledge of history and lineage. This biography goes into much detail, and I recommend that you click on the article to read the rest of the biography to get a full picture of Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. But the paragraph I quoted plainly says that he has a bachelor's, master's, and PhD in academic studies at the Islamic University of Baghdad. It expands upon his credentials by describing Baghdadi as a person of knowledge in Islamic culture, Sharia knowledge, and jurisprudence, and possessing vast knowledge of history and lineage. But are there any other sources that substantiate this? After all, this is just a biography that was distributed by anonymous users on some online jihadist forums, so we'll need additional sources. Well, it turns out that there are other sources that do substantiate this. Mehdi Hassan, a Muslim pundit who campaigns against so-called Islamophobia, admitted that this is true in a discussion with ISIS analyst Graham Wood.
But just to take your point about Baghdadi, yes, he does have a PhD in Islamic studies. I concede that point in my piece. He's one of the rare jihadist leaders who does.
This is also confirmed by many analysts. A Syrian historian and political analyst by the name of Sami Mubayyid corroborates Baghdadi's credentials in some detail in his book about ISIS. Al-Baghdadi enrolled at the Saddam University for Islamic Studies shortly after it was established in 1998, obtaining a bachelor's and master's in Islamic Studies and a PhD in the science of Tajweed, rules of pronunciation while reciting the Holy Quran. His university life was painfully slow, and he only got his PhD in June 2006, ironically the very same month that Abu Musab al-Zarqawi was killed. At university, al-Baghdadi sharpened his articulation, speech, and stage charisma. Reciting the Quran required a strong, clean voice and good performance skills. A neighbor recalls that al-Baghdadi would practice public speaking before a mirror, often breaking into animated monologues. A German politician and journalist by the name of Jürgen Todenhofer also corroborates this in his book about ISIS. After the ISI leader al-Masri and the first al-Baghdadi were killed in the US airstrikes in April 2010, 38-year-old PhD-educated Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi took over leadership of the overextended ISI cells in May 2010. They were still under the jurisdiction of al-Qaeda. Another ISIS analyst by the name of Graham Wood also corroborates Baghdadi's credentials in even more detail in his book about ISIS. At that point, few outside Baghdadi's inner circle knew what he looked like, how he walked, whether he could inspire a crowd or was devoid of charisma. He was, we know now, born in 1971 to a pious lower middle class family in Samarra, Iraq. He earned a doctorate in Quranic recitation from a university in Baghdad, and in the 2000s he ascended through the ranks of al-Qaeda and became a trusted courier for the group. Another ISIS analyst by the name of William McCants also corroborates Baghdadi's credentials in even more detail in his book about ISIS. In high school, Ibrahim was a middling student. He was excellent at math, so-so at Arabic, and terrible at English, barely passing the subject in his second try at the national exam in 1991. Because of his average scores, Ibrahim couldn't study law at the University of Baghdad as he had hoped, so he enrolled in the university's College of Islamic Sciences, where he first studied the Sharia and then switched to Quranic studies. Upon completing his bachelor's degree in 1996, Ibrahim enrolled at Saddam University for Islamic Studies as a graduate student. It was renamed the Islamic University after the Americans invaded in 2003. Saddam had founded the university in 1989, and it soon became an integral part of his effort to patronize Islamic studies to offset the growth of ultra-conservative Salafism, which he viewed as a threat to his rule. For his master's thesis, Ibrahim edited a medieval book on Quranic recitation. It took him more years to graduate than he would have liked because one of his advisors died and another moved to Yemen. In other words, Ibrahim underwent the normal travails of a graduate student. In the mid-1990s, Ibrahim joined the Muslim Brotherhood, a fraternal order that seeks to establish Islamic governments. Most Muslim Brotherhood branches peacefully pursue their goal, working within the local political system. Its members are intellectually diverse because the group doesn't have a fixed theological creed other than being vaguely Sunni. There are liberal members and conservative members. Ibrahim fell in with the ultra-conservative Salafi members of the group in Baghdad. After finishing his master's thesis in 1999, Ibrahim was accepted into the university's doctoral program. Academically, he continued to study his favorite subject, the recitation of the Quran. Intellectually, he moved rapidly to the right, embracing revolutionary jihadist Salafism by 2000, 3 years before the American invasion of Iraq. "My group does not embrace me," he told a leader of the Muslim Brotherhood when he left the organization. William McCants later talks about Baghdadi's PhD thesis, saying the following: Ibrahim was a multitasker. Despite the weight of his new responsibilities, he successfully defended his PhD dissertation in March 2007. The aspiring scholar had edited part of a medieval commentary on an Arabic poem about how to recite the Quran. His advisor, a professor in Tikrit, could not come to Ibrahim's dissertation defense in Baghdad because travel was dangerous, so he sent along his comments to the committee. The study the student wrote is good, but it contained some errors which I noted on the pages of the thesis. The professor points out typographical and spelling mistakes and gives advice on how to make a critical edition from conflicting manuscripts. It was the mild criticism of a pleased professor. Ibrahim was awarded a grade of very good for his efforts. So, as you can tell, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi was not an uneducated layman. When he did his bachelor's degree, he studied Islamic law and Quranic studies. When he did his master's degree, he studied Tajweed, i.e. Quranic recitation on a postgraduate level. When he did his PhD, he did a thesis on an Arabic poem about how to recite the Quran and was awarded a grade of very good by his advisor. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe as that would mean a lot to me. I hope you all have a nice day.